Welcome to Controversies. Our first deep dive is going to be a spicy one.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
diving into the 90-hour work week.
It's really taken the internet by storm.
It has. So let's get everyone up to speed. This whole thing started with a comment from the chairman of L&T.
A major Indian company, yeah.
Yeah.
Huge company.
So the chairman, S.N. Subramanian, suggested that employees should be working 90 hours a week, Sundays included.
Wow.
And he even said this pretty controversial thing. What do you do sitting at home? How long can you stare at your wife?
Yikes. Yeah, not a great look.
Not a great look. L&T did issue a statement after all this backlash, emphasizing their belief and putting in extraordinary effort for extraordinary outcomes.
Right. They're saying that this is India's decade.
Yeah, it's their time to shine.
Exactly.
So, they're really pushing for people to dedicate themselves.
But that comment about staring at your wife, that's really sparked a much bigger conversation about work-life balance in general.
Social media is just on fire with reactions to all this. Actress Deepika Padukone brought up mental health, which is a really important point.
Absolutely.
And former badminton player Jwala Gupta, she was criticizing that comment about staring at your wife. And then, of course, there's been so many jokes, like people suggesting intercorporate marriages between Infosys and L&T employees.
Because they both want people to work these crazy long hours, so
Yeah.
they could just, stare at each other all the time.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you work 90 hours a week. Well, I do too. Let's get married. But some of the tweets are saying, if they got paid as much as Subramanian, maybe they would work those extra hours. Interesting.
Now, for a very different take, let's talk about Anand Mahindra.
Chairman of Mahindra Group.
Yeah, and he's really focused on quality of work over just the sheer quantity of hours. He said you can achieve a lot in just 10 well-focused hours.
I like that.
Yeah.
Quality over quantity. Exactly. He even said that having a good, well-rounded life outside of work, so like enjoying the arts, spending time with family, that actually helps you make better decisions.
Makes you a better leader, more well-rounded individual.
He even defended his use of X, formerly Twitter, and talked about how it's a useful business tool for him. So it's not about just clocking out early, but about using your time effectively.
Right, and bringing different perspectives to your work.
So does this idea of quality over quantity, does that really hold up in a world where everyone seems to be obsessed with hustling all the time?
That's the question, isn't it? But Mahindra's on to something here.
Okay.
There's more and more research coming out about the power of deep work. Those times when you can really just focus and concentrate. And in today's world where innovation is key, it's not just about showing up, it's about what you're bringing to the table mentally.
Makes sense. So we've got the 90-hour work week folks over here, and then we've got Mahindra over here with his focus on quality work. Two very different philosophies. Where do other business leaders fall on all this?
Well, some have been very critical of this whole 90-hour work week idea. Harsh Goenka, chairman of RPG Enterprises, he jokingly suggested renaming Sunday to Sun Duty.
Oh, wow.
Pointing out how work can really creep into your personal time. Gautam Adani, he said that work-life balance is a personal choice.
Okay, so if you're in a demanding job, how much can you really set your own boundaries? How much of a choice is it really?
That's a great point. It's tough because company culture, industry expectations, all that plays a role. If everyone above you is working late, it's hard to just leave.
Right. Like if a junior employee wants to, have some work-life balance,
Yeah.
but their boss is there till 10 p.m. every night.
Exactly.
It's hard to just pack up and leave.
Yeah, you feel the pressure. It really reminds me of the debate we saw after that young EY employee passed away. A few years back, it was a wake-up call, about this always-on work culture. Like, are we pushing people too far?
So we've heard from the people who think we need to be super dedicated to our work, folks like Mahindra who believe quality trumps quantity, and then those who say it's all about personal choice, which, maybe isn't as free of a choice as we think. So where does that leave us? What have we learned from all these different perspectives?
What I find interesting is that this is so much bigger than just how many hours we work. It's making us ask some really fundamental questions about what work even means in the 21st century. Like, where's the line between our jobs and our personal lives? How do we define success? Not just for ourselves, but as a society. How do we balance the demands of a global economy with, basic human needs?
Those are some big questions.
They are.
It's like we're trying to rewrite the rules while the game is still going on.
And the game is changing fast.
Yeah.
Think about all the technology we have now. We can work from anywhere, anytime. But that can be a good and a bad thing.
Right. Gives you flexibility, but also blurs the lines.
Exactly.
So it's not just about how many hours you work, but about how you manage those hours.
And how you protect yourself in this always connected world.
Yeah, you can't forget the human cost of working all the time.
Yeah.
Burnout, health issues, relationships can suffer.
Absolutely. So L&T's initial comment, it really opened up this Pandora's box, didn't it? It's not just about one company or one chairman. It's about the future of work itself. It's about technology, and it's about our values.
And it doesn't seem like this debate is going away anytime soon. I mean, even after that statement from L&T, emphasizing the importance of going above and beyond, how this is India's moment, people are still fired up.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is.
People are engaged, they're thinking critically, they're pushing for change.
We need to have these tough conversations if we want to create a better work culture, one that's both productive and healthy.
Exactly. And this is where you, our listeners, come in. This deep dive has been all about exploring these different ideas.
Yeah, but now we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this whole 90-hour work week thing? How do you define work-life balance in your own life? What do you think the future of work should look like?
It's a conversation that needs to continue. So share your thoughts, challenge the status quo.
Because at the end of the day, the future of work is being shaped right now, and your voice matters.
Speaking of the future of work, we can't ignore the role of technology in all of this.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, automation, artificial intelligence, all that stuff, it's huge. Could those technologies lead to shorter work weeks down the road?
That's a real possibility. Some experts actually believe that if AI can take over those repetitive tasks, humans will be free to do more creative, more strategic work. And that could actually lead to fewer working hours overall.
That would be amazing.
Right. Imagine a world where we're just as productive, maybe even more so, but we have more time for ourselves, our families, the things we love.
Okay, so that sounds great in theory, but are there downsides?
Oh, of course. I mean, we have to think about things like job displacement. How do we make sure that everyone benefits from these technological advancements, not just a few? And how do we prepare people for a completely different kind of work world?
It's exciting and a little bit scary all at the same time. The possibilities are endless, but we have to be smart about it.
We do. We have to make sure that these possibilities lead to a better future for everyone.
So as we wrap up this first part of our deep dive, we want to leave you with a final thought.
In a world that's constantly demanding more and more of our time, how do we define the boundaries between work and life? And what are the consequences of pushing those boundaries, good and bad?
It's something to think about.
It is.
We've talked a lot about the 90-hour work week, the arguments for and against it, but what does work-life balance even mean? Like, what does that actually look like in real life?
Yeah, it's one of those buzzwords, right? Everyone talks about it.
It is.
But it's important to actually break it down. And it's not just about working less, it's about having control. Control over your time, control over your energy.
So setting boundaries.
Exactly. It's about making conscious decisions. How much do you give to work and how much do you keep for yourself, for other parts of your life? Maybe it means setting those clear start and end times for your workday, even if you're working from home, or turning off notifications after a certain hour.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about those jobs where the boundaries are just naturally blurry, like a surgeon on call or someone running their own business?
Yeah, those are definitely tougher situations. But even then, it's about being intentional. Carving out time for yourself to recharge, reconnect with what really matters. Maybe it's negotiating with colleagues to make sure you have backup for those late night calls you can't avoid, or scheduling breaks throughout the day to just step away from work completely.
Finding a rhythm that works for you.
Exactly. And your specific situation. There's no one right answer. What works for a tech entrepreneur might not work for a teacher, and vice versa.
Different needs. Different priorities.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that work-life balance isn't a finish line you cross. It's a constant process of adjusting and recalibrating.
Okay, yeah.
Life changes, your needs change, so you need to be able to adapt.
So you're not striving for this perfect balance. You're just finding a way to integrate work and life.
In a way that feels sustainable, fulfilling.
Yeah, okay.
And that might look different at different points in your life. Early in your career, maybe you are willing to work longer hours. You're trying to build experience, climb the ladder.
Right.
But later on, maybe spending time with your family becomes more important. Or maybe you want to focus on a passion project.
So having the freedom to make those choices without being judged.
Exactly. And it comes down to company culture, too. Creating a workplace that values well-being. Because employees who feel supported, who feel respected, they're going to be more productive in the long run.
That makes sense.
Hmm.
But realistically, creating that kind of culture, I mean, it's hard, right? There's so much pressure in today's world to just focus on work, work, work.
It's true. We're constantly bombarded with messages about hustle culture. Like your worth is tied to how productive you are.
Always on, always available, always striving.
And that can be so damaging for individuals and for companies as a whole.
So how do we push back against that? How do we build a more human, more sustainable way of working?
I think it starts with awareness, having conversations like this one, acknowledging the problem. And it takes leaders setting a good example, prioritizing their own well-being and encouraging their teams to do the same.
Leading by example.
Exactly. Making it clear that it's okay to set boundaries, to put your health and happiness first. And maybe we need to challenge some of the assumptions behind this whole always-on mentality. Do we really need to be constantly connected? Are longer hours actually leading to better results?
Those are good questions.
They are. Maybe it's time to rethink what success even means for individuals and for society as a whole.
Moving away from just pure productivity.
And embracing a broader view, one that includes well-being, happiness, purpose.
Now that's a future I can get behind.
Me too.
It feels like we could talk about this work-life balance thing forever.
Right.
There's just so many angles.
Yeah.
Individual choices, company cultures, technology, all of it.
And like we said, how we even define success is changing. This whole 90-hour work week debate, it's really just a sign of something much bigger happening.
Yeah, it's making us question all these old ideas about work and what really matters.
It's almost like we're stuck between two worlds.
Okay.
The old rules don't work anymore, but we haven't figured out the new ones yet.
And I think that's where a lot of the anxiety comes from.
Absolutely. People are worried. Will robots take their jobs? Will they be expected to be online 24/7? Will they ever really get to switch off?
Yeah, it can be overwhelming, but I also think there's a huge opportunity here.
Oh, I agree.
If we're rewriting the rules, we have the chance to create something much better. A work culture that's more human, more sustainable, something that actually reflects our values.
I love that. But it's going to take a lot of work.
It will.
Individuals have to set boundaries, companies have to support those boundaries, and we need to have these open and honest conversations about what we actually want the future of work to look like.
It's a big challenge, but it's worth it. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the 90-hour work week and the future of work, we want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay, I like it.
In a world that's constantly trying to grab our attention, how do we take back control of our lives? How do we create a future of work that works for us, not against us?
That's the question, isn't it?
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it interesting and that it maybe even sparked some important conversations.
Absolutely. Keep questioning, keep exploring, keep shaping the future of work. Until next time.